Hi guys. Today actually it's gonna be a series for this expectation versus reality. Expectation versus reality of dating a Filipina. well, okay. No. Expectations versus real. Of course, I couldn't talk about that because that's your forte. Perhaps you have your own experiences, and I don't belong in that category. No, just kidding. So, expectations versus reality of dating a foreigner. I think there are a lot of expectations versus reality, but let's talk about general topics first. So, expectations of when you're dating what are the expectations of a Filipino when they are dating a foreigner? Let's start with Caucasians. Is it okay? Please, I would like you guys to know that I am not a native speaker of English. So I understand that English is an ever changing language. So if I say some words that are not quite acceptable right now in our generation, especially some words that might offend someone, I apologize beforehand, and I'm open to corrections, so just type it down there and don't forget to subscribe. Anyway, what are the expectations and that a Filipino have when they date a foreigner? Well, number one of the expectation is foreigners are romantic. When you have a foreigner, they would expect a lot of Filipinos would expect to be showered with gifts. I think it applies to Caucasians in general. So when you're dating a Caucasian, they would give gifts to you, to your family, to shower you with gifts and all, even house. There's this like belief that if you have a Caucasian boyfriend, even just a boyfriend, much more less if you get married, you will have lots of gifts, and you will be showered with so much endearments and so on. But of course, it depends, European and so on, right? Maybe next time we're going to talk about that. We're going to segregate that. But right now, Caucasians in general, they're generous with gifts. Number two. But in reality, sorry guys, I think if they really if we're gonna talk about the value of money, it's easier to buy a gift for a Filipina. But on the other hand, I don't think all Caucasians are actually generous, especially if they just like that Filipino. I think they're generous if they love you, or they're courting you, right? I remember before someone courted me, I was working in the hotel. I was sleeping, and then he was just behind me suddenly, and then he gave me a teddy bear and then a set of Calvin Klein perfume and lotion, and it was a set. But I was young, and I don't have any, what do you call that, knowledge about brands and so on. For me, a perfume is a perfume, and I get Louis Vuitton bags and expensive perfumes from my aunt in London. So I don't even know Calvin Klein. What brand do I know before? I did know Gucci and Dior. Mostly European brands. It is because my aunt lives there, and then when there's a sale, she would send it to me. So even though I had to support my education by myself, I have a Louis Vuitton backpack, which is authentic. I have a lot of designer goods that I didn't know were expensive, and now I couldn't afford them. But anyways, so that's number one. Another expectation is that well, they're not only they're generous with gifts, but they're quite generous with money. That's another expectation when you marry, or when you are dating a Caucasian. I think especially in Angeles City, most Caucasians, they stay in the most like high-end hotels, ABC Hotel, Swiss Chalet, way back. And then even now, they would stay in expensive hotels in general, not the hotel where you just get by. Do you understand? I think most of them, they think that holiday is a holiday, and they're meant to spend money. And then a lot of people would, in the Philippines, I remember, like, some women, they would say, one of the ways for them to identify if your partner has money is where does he stay. So if you stay in ABC hotel, oh, you got money. But if you stay in like a cheaper hotel that they don't know, worse, much worse motel, they're gonna like, And most Caucasians stay in high-end hotels, or maybe quite, high. We don't really have a five-star. I think it's Marriott right now, right? Holiday Inn and so on. But the way back, they're quite different. So the standard is either inside Clark or ABC. What's the other one? Central Park Hotel, Orchid Inn, and those big hotels with big rooms and good service and so on. And then, so that is like the expectation. But in reality, again, I think it's with, as I've said, foreigners wanted their holiday to be holidays, so they don't mind spending a lot. And at the same time, especially Caucasians, for them, I think this amount is almost similar to a regular hotel fee in your country. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. So, to women, I'm so sorry. So that's one thing. Another one, expectations. They would, well, once you date a Caucasian, they would support you. So it is believed that Caucasians are more likely to support you than dating an Asian guy or East Asian guy. It is because East Asian guy have a different view about this. Most of their women are working, so supporting them is not necessary unless the guy is quite old. And East Asian guys, I think maybe that's my next time topic. But if you have a Caucasian guy, most likely they would support you. That's why a lot of Filipinos way back, they would until now, some people might say, oh, Filipinos want Koreans now. They want them in a sense that they look, their appearance. They would give you their secondhand phones because they changed their phone from South Korea. They're gonna shower you with gifts and all, but cosmetics are cheap in South Korea. That's where I get my cosmetics when, we didn't have pandemic. I would just go there to go shopping. And $300, you can, your 6 kilogram baggage can become 15 kilogram in no time for only $300, and that's like a month, a year worth of cosmetics. So I think it's relatively affordable. So my point is, when it comes to money though, sa East Asian men, they might hesitate and then they would research first before sending. But most Caucasians, what Filipinos believe is that they are more likely to give more, more amount. Maybe it's the exchange rate and then salary, like there's a difference between salary. Like, I think the highest salary would be, it depends on your job mostly, but exchange rate base, it's pounds, euro, dollars, yen, and then won, right? Am I correct? Correct me if I'm wrong, because I think when I spend my money in South Korea, it's quite cheap. But if I would ever, when I went to UK, I was like, oh, 20 pounds for fish and chips. But I could actually get a cheaper version. But that time it was near a museum, so it's understandable. But who doesn't want to try fish and chips in London, right? 20 pounds. Anyway, I shared that anyway. So that's about 2,500 yen in yen, and maybe about $23. So it's like that. So I suppose if you have a better rate, it's easier to spend money. And then, so that's another expectation. But in reality, I think it's the exchange rate. And at the same time, it depends on the guy. I think Caucasian men, if they really like you, they really don't mind, right? And then another one. A lot of Filipinos expect that Caucasian man would accept you no matter what your background is. I think I see this a lot. I see a lot of, people who work in the bar, who work in the hotel, who work as blah blah blah. They would go, Asian men don't really care about you. I mean, Caucasian men don't care about your background, and I think that's quite true. That's an expectation. But on the other hand, I think most Caucasians, I think in reality, most Caucasians still have their own preference, and it depends on them. Really, it depends on the person. It's not really a general thing. Last but not the least, Caucasian men are rich. So a lot, you know why we came up with this? Because most of the people living in our hometown, especially in Angeles City, there we have a lot of clubs and bars and so on, even in Manila. Because most Caucasians, they're the ones who would stay in expensive condominiums. Well, Japanese also do, but I don't know about Koreans would find affordable ones, but this is my real estate research, guys. Don't get me wrong. So please don't be angry. But uh, yeah, mostly Caucasians, they're the ones who would buy properties in the Philippines and invest big time, especially properties. Hensonville, those expensive areas in Angeles City, Hensonville. Except Villa Teresa is for, old rich Filipinos in Angeles City. But most of it, Hansonville, Samsonville, all of those Villeville. Most of the tenants or homeowners are married to a Filipino, and they're usually foreigners. And the land value is really a lot. It's really high, and most of your neighbors would go there. So I think that is another expectation. Like if you marry a foreigner, you're gonna live in this lavish apartment or lavish house. But in reality, it depends on their income, and at the same time it depends on how you would work it together. So I don't think it's one way street. So I think if you would go out with a foreigner and then eventually you would get married, and then especially a Caucasian, then you would go to their country. If it's not, a lot of Filipinos, they get disappointed that their foreigner doesn't live in a big house, but way back in the Philippines they would stay in this fancy room, the most expensive room in ABC hotel. But when they go to United States or their other countries, they're gonna be like, oh, this is a normal two-bedroom house. But they should in reality, it's really like that. A holiday is a holiday and a home is a home. But it's up to you on how you make your home into a hotel, right? So, and then they would be bitching. I'm sorry. They'd be saying bad things online to their friends or family, and then they're gonna say, "Oh, uh, my husband is like this." But sometimes their pride also gets in the way. Like they don't want to talk about it. They're not even gonna take photos or anything because they're ashamed that they didn't get that typical Caucasian image that they have in their head on their in their head, and then they couldn't show off to their family and friends. That's why if you notice most of the Facebook posts, there's no Caucasian. It's rare to find a Caucasian man with a Filipino posted on their Facebook unless they've been together for a long time or they really love each other. Because the Filipinos' expectations wasn't reached, or maybe it was reached, but Filipinos have a standard for looks or something. So something like that. They're afraid of judgment, and or maybe sometimes they're afraid of other Filipinos borrowing money from them because of that expectation. Oh, your boyfriend is Caucasian. I'm pretty sure he has money. I can borrow money from you? And if you try to ask your money back, or try to make them pay you, they would say, "No, your boyfriend is American. He has money. You don't need money yet," and so on and so forth. So those are some of the things that are quite interesting. So anyway, I hope you learned from this, and sorry it's quite long, but thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna try to upload more in the future. Thank you.